What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now today I'm super duper excited because ColorCL has sent me over another package which contains their latest collection, the Siesta Crystal Edition. And let me tell you right now, it is totally up my vibe. As you guys know, when it comes to my makeup, I like things to look very, very natural, just healthy and glowy and dewy. Well, the Crystal Collection totally fits that because they've actually released two different styles that actually blend in with your eyes a little bit better. So it creates a really, really natural look that's been a bit enhanced. Now, if I'm gonna be completely honest with you, there are a couple colors that are like too natural, almost so natural that you will not see them very well in the footage. And then there are a couple other colors that do have a little bit more of a punch in them. Regardless, there are a lot of great ones in here and I definitely have some new favorites. So let's go ahead and jump on in. But actually, before we do, can we have a quick conversation about the Crystal Edition's packaging? Because holy hell, it's absolutely gorgeous. I love the way that the glitter kind of like shines when it catches the light and how it's all iridescent. And real quick, I never ever talk about the fact that ColorCL always includes cases with their contacts, but this time around, their cases are dope. The tops are actually see-through, so you can see the color underneath. Oh my God, ColorCL, please start selling these ones individually so that I can just go ahead and get a whole slew of them, because I have some contact lens cases that I would like to replace. Now, as channel tradition dictates, I'm gonna go ahead and slip in a clip of my naked brown eyes while I go ahead and read you the stats. But I do have to give you guys just a quick heads up real quick. All of the footage that I got from natural lighting is gonna be a little bit sad and dreary because legitimately the weather out here is all cloudy and gross. So I do apologize for that. However, it is natural light. So the base curve is 8.6 millimeters. The diameter is 14.2 millimeters. They're available in prescription at no additional charge and will last you 6 months apiece. Now this collection releases March 8th and each pair of contacts will regularly cost you $18 a piece. However, ColorCL is running a bit of a launch sale, so if you pick them up between March 8th and March 22nd, you can actually get them for $14.40 a piece. But if you want an additional discount on top of that, you can always use code ROB10 to get 10% off of your order. Now, before we take a look at each of the individual colors, I figured we should have a quick chat about the construction because we're actually going to be taking a look at two different styles, the basic as well as the iris. Now, the basics are based on the popular colors of Siesta collections, but the color maintains more transparency, so it's more naturally blended into the eyes, and I could not agree more with the statement. So for those of you guys who are a bit unfamiliar with the Siesta contacts, they're very similar to the Somatica Hydrocores, where they have no limbal ring whatsoever, but they have striations of transparency that kind of lead into the center of the eye to help it blend a bit better. However, in this case with the Crystal Edition, these are more transparent, so what ends up happening is they have more of a blend, and in fact, because of that additional transparency, you actually get a little bit more of your natural limbal ring on the outside. So you get some depth out there, and then you get all of the color down in the center. I'm a really, really big fan, and because of that blend, I'm actually able to play with a couple colors that I normally wouldn't wear. So really, really liking that. Moving on, we have the Iris series. This design is based on the real pattern of the pupil, and the edge is blended transparently, so the color is naturally mixed in with the limbal ring of the eye. Again, more limbal ring love. I'm a big fan of that because it really does make things look a little bit more natural. However, when you're taking a look at the Iris series in the blister themselves, it looks kind of crazy because the colors look a bit intense and they're kind of like almost like flecked in there and like watercolor painted on. It's so, so beautiful. However, it is a little bit strong until you put them in the eye where they blend absolutely beautifully. In fact, if you guys couldn't tell, I'm actually wearing some blue ones right now. Now, I'm a big fan, I hate to spoil it for you a little bit, but I wouldn't have been able to do this with any of the other collections because sometimes those shades are a little too strong. But the transparency that they've added into the Crystal Edition, I'm definitely a big fan of. Okay, so a quick disclaimer if you guys haven't quite caught on. While each of these contacts do have their own baseline shade to them, they are made to blend in with your own eye color. So if yours is drastically different than mine, be aware that these shades might look a bit different on you than they do me. Regardless, let's go ahead and jump into our first, which is the Crystal Edition Brown. And these come out to be this really, really pretty kind of caramel color on the eye. They're about 2 to 3 steps lighter than my own natural color, and I think that they're very, very pretty. However, as many of you guys know, I'm not necessarily the fondest of warm browns on me. I like things to be a tad bit cooler, and if you take a look at these in the blister, they are that kind of like startlingly coral color. So as many of you know, sometimes these contacts do have a little bit of like a halo on the outside, and that coral color tends to blend in with the red veininess that occurs naturally in my eyes. So it's not necessarily the greatest mix for me, but just in case you guys are into something a little bit warmer, a little bit luxurious, you can go ahead and check out the browns. Cooling things down a bit, we have Crystal Hazel. Now the thing that I love about this shade is it has a little bit of a shift. When you look at it in certain lights, it's almost this honey beige tone. In other lights, it's almost like this brown gray. And in the camera right now, it actually looks slightly green. And I love any color that gives you a little bit of a mind fuck where people are like, what's going on there? Thought your eyes were a different color a second ago, but wow, they're shifting. And for a contact to be able to do that, I really, really enjoy it. And for those of you who are curious, here is a side-by-side comparison of the brown versus the hazel. As you can see, the brown is just a tad bit warmer, while the hazel is a bit cooler and has a little bit more of a golden undertone to it. Next up, we have one of the contenders of my favorite of the bunch, which of course is Crystal Light Gray. I'm sure that you guys are not surprised that I like the grays in this series. However, one of the things that I always have a bit of a complaint about whenever it comes to gray contacts is the fact that as I kind of wear them a little bit longer, they tend to go blue on me. However, these ones, because of the fact that they're made to blend with your eye a little bit more, actually merge in with the brown and make almost kind of like a very pale gray with a little bit of brown in there, sometimes a little bit of green depending on the light, but regardless, these do not go blue on me no matter how long I wear them. So I absolutely love these, and I'm actually really curious to see how these would look in other shades of eyes, because legitimately, this over green eyes, this over blue eyes, that could be a very interesting mix. Regardless, I just love how this shade melts in, and I feel like, but wait, hold on, there is more. Alrighty, so the light grays put on a damn good fight, but I do have to admit that slipping in the crystal dark grays makes me feel all kinds of sexy. Now, in my previous contact lens review video, I went ahead and covered Romance India and Romance Cedar, and I said that Cedar felt like a grown and sexy version of India, and that's exactly how I feel here. While the light grays are going to be absolutely amazing for like Instagram or if you want to go out with a bunch of your friends, like the dark grays are perfect for like date night, and it's kind of like going to draw people in because it has that great blending that overlays on my brown eyes to kind of warm them up a bit so they do look like a true gray with a little hint of brown in them. And one of the things that I really want to point out is that with all of these contacts, you do have a little bit of a gap in the center that kind of lets your own color peek through a little bit. And because of the fact that these are a tad bit darker, they actually blend in with the brown a little bit better. So I love the fact that they kind of have a very similar level of intensity, so they do a really great transition from one into the next. So I think these are my winners. Let me know down in the comments below whether you like the light gray better or the dark gray better. And to help you guys out with your decision, I actually went ahead and did a side-by-side of the light grays and the dark grays. Now, as you can see, they are both the same tone. However, one is definitely lighter and the other one is a bit more rich. So again, let's vote. Let me know how you feel. And now we enter dangerous territory as we take a look at Crystal Blue. Now, I notoriously am not a big fan of blue contacts in my eyes, but I do have to admit that I kind of like these. Now, specifically in this light, they come off very blue, but as you guys can see in natural light, they almost read blue-gray, which I'm a pretty big fan of, and I hate to admit it, but I like the way that this kind of like blends in with the brown of my eyes when it comes closer to the center. So while it's not my favorite color, it is definitely one of the best ones that I've actually experienced so far. However, I am curious how this is going to look in green eyes and blue eyes. If any of you guys out there try this out, let me know. Go ahead and @ me on Twitter or like message me on Instagram. It's all at a Gay Guy Plays. Closing out the basics, we have Crystal Green, and finally we arrive at a green that I really like, that isn't like a gray green. Now, in previous iterations, we've seen a lot of forest green, a lot of emerald green, things that lean very blue. However, as you can see in the blister, this is actually more of a yellow yellow-based green. So when you overlay that on my eyes, it tends to look a little bit olivey, a little bit army green-esque, and I absolutely love it and need that in my life. It's not a color that I've seen very, very much of. Now, admittedly, the ring light that I have right all up in my face does tend to wash me out a little bit, and I personally feel like these look a little bit better when I'm either using a little bit of a darker foundation or something that gives a little bit more warmth to my skin, just to kind of richen everything up and bring things together. So just a little bit of a heads up there. I don't really know how I feel about these on super fair skin, but you know what, to each their own. And I do have to admit that this tone blends very nicely with the brown like that's peeking through the center of the eye. Oh, I love them so much. Now, next up, we start our foray into the iris collection, and if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I'm kind of scared that the first two colors are not going to pick up on camera whatsoever because they are so subtle. So the first ones that have actually slipped in are Iris Hazel. Now, me personally, when I take a look at them in the mirror, they do look to brighten up my eyes, and they tend to warm them up just a slight bit. It's a natural accentuation that happens, and I really do like it. Now, the cool thing about these is, like I was saying with the browns in the standard crystal collection, those ones tend to leave a little bit of like a warm ring around your eye, which can really mix unflatteringly with any red veins that you have. But because of the fact that the iris collection actually kind of like melts in to your limbal ring and doesn't really extend too far out from that, it's really great so you don't get that cast. So if you are looking for something to just brighten up your eyes, I really do like Iris Hazel a lot. And the one thing that I wanted to point out is in a previous video, I said something very similar about the Pearl Orange. I love the kind of brightening effect that they have on the eye. This is very similar, but without the sparkle. So if you're looking for a kind of like more subtle version of that, but still have a little bit of liveliness in the eye, this is definitely a tone that you should check out. Moving along, we have another color that is so subtle you probably can't catch it in the eyes, which of course is the Iris Khaki. Now, if you're looking for something to do the complete opposite of the previous color, and you want something to cool you down a bit, this is definitely going to be the one that you want to go for. And I think that it's great for those who kind of just want a little bit of a shift, but nothing too dramatic. Otherwise, this is definitely one of the tones you can pass on if you want something with a bit more potency. Alrighty, now we arrive at one of my favorites of the bunch, which is the Iris Hazel, and this one is super duper cool. Even though this one is a bit more of a blue-based green, because of the fact that the colors are so sheer, my own brown eyes tend to warm them up just a little bit. And the thing that I like about this color is the fact that it almost kind of has this, what is it called? It's like that dichromia effect where your eyes look like they have two different colors in them, because I do have some brown in there, and then we do have parts that are a little bit of a stronger green, so they almost look like they kind of blend in and splotch in with each other. It's a really interesting effect, and I actually really like these too. So that's two greens that have won it for me in this round, which is a very strange, but also quite beautiful and quite natural. And finally, we close out this collection with Iris Blue. And these were actually the contacts that I wore at the very beginning of the video, and it's nice to know that they're holding up even after the sun has gone down. Now, when you take a look at them in the blister, they're this very pale, kind of like aqua blue. So it's really odd when I went ahead and stacked them into my eyes, and they actually turn into this kind of like soft gray with a little bit of a blue in them. Basically, it kind of comes down to the way that the brown neutralizes the blue that's there, and I think that it actually ends up really pretty. It looks more gray than it does blue when I'm just kind of like walking about. So a part of me is like, oh my god, ColorCL, please make an iris gray. I would really like something like that, or kind of like an iris olive green. I have so much hopes for the rest of this series because I'm seeing the way that the green is looking, I'm seeing the way that the blue is looking, and I'm like, please do more because they blend so well. Oh, definitely my favorites of the bunch. While they're not necessarily scary and intense and in your face, the blend is just absolutely beautiful. Alrighty, and that about does it for my review of the Siesta Crystal Edition. There were some definite winners in here. If I'm gonna recommend any, I would say both of the grays, both of the greens, and of course the iris blue, which I'm oh so fond of. Definitely love the way that everything is just natural and blended in. Totally my vibe. Regardless, don't forget to go ahead and check these out March 8th and use my code ROB10 to get 10% off of your order. So with that all said and done, as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch your body. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.